I went to the door.
Hi, it's me again, Les Loken. I'm looking at myself on YouTube in my first video. Things have certainly changed since I was born in 1912. I was born on a farm. Among my earliest memories were of the three generations at the dinner table would all of a sudden pause in their eating and conversation and dash outside because they heard an engine up in the air. And everybody would run out there and in awe, what's keeping that thing up in the air? It was a miracle. You know, I can remember back to the time of World War I. In 1919, when I was 7 years old, my Uncle Walter came home from World War I, where he fought in Germany. And we knew from a postcard we got from him on the farm that he was now at a discharge center west of Chicago, where his records would be recorded, brought up to date, and he'd be separated and sent on his way home. And my dad decided, he was there on the farm with my mother, that he would go out there and meet Walter and accompany him home. And so he got on a ferry, crossed Lake Michigan over to Milwaukee, rode an interurban up to Chicago, then out west of Chicago, heading toward the military discharge center. And all of a sudden he sees a soldier at a gate, a fence gate. And he hops off the interurban and goes up to the soldier and asks him how he can find Walter Dietz. Well, this guy is just one of the separatees. He's only there to open the gate if need be because supplies are going to be delivered. And he doesn't really know what's going on. And so my dad says, well, can't you call somebody? And he picks up his field telephone and he has to hold something and crank it by hand and then hold it up to his ear. And he's not getting any sense out of whoever he's talking to. So he finally gives up in disgust, going to go back to the farm and wait till Walter gets home. Later on, I was back on the farm, and my folks were waiting for Walter to get home, and he arrived with his duffel bag, everything in it that he had had in Germany, and even including his gas mask. Now I'll continue with my story about World War II. After Pearl Harbor, I soon found myself in the command of General Staff College. And then on graduation from that, in the top percent of my class, actually, I was given three choices of assignment. One with the Air Force in England, one in North Africa, or in the newly created 13th Air Force in the Solomon Islands, created on Espiritu Santo. The wartime code name for that was Buttons. And they were, soon after the 13th Air Force was created, they were moved up one island to Guadalcanal. I chose that one because I figured that it was my best chance for promotion of brand new Air Force. And that's where I found myself. I was slated to become the A1, Assistant Chief of Staff A1 of the Bomber Command of that Air Force. I decided I wanted to learn what the problems were in the field before going in and taking over that position. So I volunteered to go on some combat missions with them, so maybe I could learn more about what their problems were. And I had to argue with the group commander of the Bomber Command to get him to consent to let me go. And I agreed I could be a crew member because I had been trained. I'd been trained as a tail gunner. And I earned a little respect from the members of the Bomber Command by going along on those missions, and I learned a little about myself too. I had wondered how I would personally react to watching anti-aircraft shells exploding at my level, and then having the experience of when we landed, everybody would get out of the planes and go around and see how many hits they could see on the airplane, how many dents they could see. That was kind of interesting. It was interesting to me that I wasn't frightened, you might say. This is typical of some of the planes that I was in charge of in the Bomber Command of the 13th Air Force. There were both 2-engine bombers and 4-engine bombers. I did my own bomb runs in the 2-engine bombers. Many years after World War II ended, in the early 1950s, I was in Japan as a senior control officer helping the Japanese build a new self-defense force. Now, one of my counterparts in the Japanese side, a young English-speaking officer named Keiichi Namikawa, he became a very good friend. And one day he started telling me about how when we had destroyed their Air Force Center at Hollandia, he had been given a letter by the senior Japanese general there to go to the island of Biak, way over at the other end of New Guinea, and take command of 4,000 troops that were just sitting there and build a new Air Force Center. Now, I was able to tell Namikawa, when he was telling me this, that I remembered those days very well. We had watched him start to prepare new airstrips there. And when we saw that they were about to become operational and a threat to our forces, we bombed the hell out of them. We were enemies at that time, and now here we are, the closest of friends, which we remain today.